The only time people say they're not with somebody is when they get busted. And yeah, I was told by Aaliyah, do not shake, ruffle no feathers, because it's going to bring more awareness to it, and she wanted to move on. So she said,
what we've done was, forever be, stamped in history. Like we created something that's going to go down forever. So it's I can only have love for Dame.
I was surprised it took so long for something to happen, just based on what I was hearing.
The only time people say they not with somebody is when they get busted, and yeah, I was in, and I was told by Aaliyah, do not shake, ruffle no feathers, cause it's going to bring more awareness to it, and she wanted to move on, so she said, what we've done was, forever be, stamped in history, like we created something that's going to go down forever, so it's I can only have love for D. I was surprised it took so long for something to happen. See you on what I was hearing. Dame Dash just dropped a bombshell about JayZ and Aaliyah that will leave you speechless. According to Dame, JayZ didn't just have a relationship with Aaliyah, he her into it, and the truth behind their connection is darker than we ever knew. Was this really love, or was it all part of a twisted plan? Let's break down what Dame is revealing about JayZ, Aaliyah, and the secret world no one talks about. How it all started. Dame Dash recently opened up about how he knew Aaliyah was being manipulated by JayZ, but what's even more shocking is that he revealed the disturbing truths about the power dynamics in play. According to Dame, Aaliyah was more than just a friend to him, they were deeply in love and he had been her protector for years, but when JayZ started pushing up on Aaliyah, things quickly turned toxic, and Dame says it was a whole lot darker than people realized. Like, I don't give a you wanted to get away from your homie if you wanted to get away from your partner, but to do it the way he did it, it's malicious. It's no secret that JayZ's history with women has always been, let's say, complicated. JayZ has long been linked to several younger women, with his relationship with Foxy Brown making headlines in the past, and the allegations surrounding JayZ and an underage girl. Those rumors have always been there, adding a whole other layer of questions about his relationships with young women in the industry. So what if we told you that JayZ might have Aaliyah into a relationship, taking advantage of her vulnerable position in the industry? Yep, that's what Dame Dash is suggesting, and if we take a closer look at the evidence, it doesn't seem as far-fetched as we once thought. The dark side of JayZ's. When we talk about JayZ's history with younger women, we're not just referring to rumors. Let's get into it. There are accusations, multiple reports, and even allegations of it that make it clear JayZ's relationships with certain women have been problematic at best. In the case of Aaliyah, Dame Dash confirmed that the 15-year-old singer was already in a troubled place after her experience with R. Kelly. Remember, R. Kelly was her mentor, but also where they were even married when she was just 15, an arrangement that was eventually annulled after the public outcry. Aaliyah was hurt, and Jay's actions didn't help. Jay's and Aaliyah's relationship, according to Dame, was nothing like what we've been told. While it may have appeared on the surface like a friendly connection or a simple industry relationship, Dame revealed that Aaliyah was uncomfortable with Jay's advances and didn't want to get involved with him. At the time, JayZ was already an established superstar and Aaliyah was still growing into her legacy. But let's be real, JayZ had power and Aaliyah didn't. As Dame pointed out, when you're dealing with someone like JayZ who has the whole industry backing him, it's not easy to say no. We're talking about someone who literally had the entire music world in his hands. He was everywhere, and when JayZ started sending flowers, making grand gestures, and pursuing Aaliyah aggressive, what could she do? According to Dame, Aaliyah had to play the game because that's what the industry demanded. Cause Jay was trying to get out her as well, and I didn't know he was sending flowers and he was courting her. But here's the real kicker, y'all. While JayZ was busy courting Aaliyah, he was simultaneously turning a blind eye to her trauma. We're talking about her past with R. Kelly, a man who's been known to have young girls for decades. Dame Dash has been outspoken about how Aaliyah was scarred by her experience with R. Kelly. Dame recalls how Aaliyah would confide in him, telling him how awful that period of her life was. But what did JayZ do? He was still working with R. Kelly. In fact, they even had a whole album and tour together, Best of Both Worlds. When Dame found out about it, he was furious, and rightfully so. After all, Aaliyah was close to Dame and had been hurt by R. Kelly. She wanted nothing to do with him. And now her former industry peers were still in business with the man who would see supposed best friend partner does a project with someone that he knows raped your partner's girl when she was a child, and you still say, I had nothing to do with me, I'm going still get money with him. It doesn't sit right. It's one thing to ignore the allegations, but to publicly partner with R. Kelly, who had allegedly Aaliyah, shows a disturbing lack of empathy. And to top it off, Dame says JayZ never spoke out against R. Kelly's actions. He kept silent even as new revelations about R. Kelly's were coming to light. This of course led to a major falling out between Dame and JayZ. Sure, and I don't think anyone that's human, if anyone, could look the other way from that. They and that a man should stop calling themselves a man if they could hang out with a dude that would work with someone, the person they love. Now let's talk about something that's been buzzing in the background. Jaguar writes recent claims about JayZ and Aaliyah, and trust me, it's a perspective that adds some serious fuel to the fire. According to Jaguar, the timeline around Jay's involvement with Aaliyah is way more sinister than we thought. After everything went down with R. Kelly and Aaliyah's divorce, Jay's interest in her seemed to escalate, especially as she spent more time in New York. But after everything went bad with Robert Kelly and he had to divorce Aaliyah, JayZ was interested. But here's the catch: Aaliyah didn't want any part of it. She wasn't feeling him like that. But for Jay, rejection, that's not something he handles well. Jaguar made it clear if Aaliyah didn't want him, he wasn't about to let that slide. He had a reputation to protect and wasn't about to let her slip away. And as she started spending more time in New York, he was very right there. She didn't want that with him. Now, while Dame Dash and Jaguar Wright have given us some serious insight into JayZ's tactics, we can't forget about Nas, who actually hinted at some pretty disturbing things in his own music and interviews. Months after JayZ's infamous album The Blueprint dropped, Nas was deep in his beef with Giga, and trust me, he didn't hold back. In an interview with Wendy Williams, Nas straight up called JayZ out for his connection to R. Kelly, suggesting that both Jay and R. Kelly had a thing for young girls. NZ basically called out Jay for being fully aware of R. Kelly's inappropriate behavior in the studio, even claiming that JayZ must have seen a 14-year-old girl walk into the room and sit on R. Kelly's lap. So now we're at a crucial point to consider: was Aaliyah forced into a relationship with JayZ, or was it just a matter of her feeling trapped in a toxic situation? It's easy to see how Aaliyah could have been manipulated by the men around her. She was just a young woman trying to figure out her career, her trauma, and her place in the world. She didn't have the power to say no to JayZ, especially when he was so embedded in the industry and in her life. And remember, Dame Dash wasn't the only one who noticed this. Aaliyah's inner circle was aware of Jay's advances, but Aaliyah kept it quiet. She didn't want to make waves, and she didn't want the public to see her as damaged goods. The dame, who was deeply protective of Aaliyah, saw right through Jay's actions. She didn't want to deal with the bullet like the things that it happened in the past. She told me, leave it alone. I would have to respect her wish no matter what, and her wish was leave it alone, let me heal, let me rest, let me, I'm in love, let's just enjoy this. It's clear that Aaliyah didn't want to be involved with JayZ in the way he wanted, but the pressure, the manipulation, and the power dynamics made it hard for her to escape. In some way she was forced into the relationship whether she wanted to be or not, and that's what makes this situation so much darker. As if things weren't messy enough, we have to talk about the aftermath. Aaliyah's tragic in 2001 was a blow to the entire world, especially Dame Dash. He was devastated, and rightfully so. Aaliyah wasn't just a colleague, she was his partner in life, and her death left a huge void in his heart. Everything that scared me is losing people I love, and everyone that I've really loved I've lost. So what it's made me be the animal that I am is that I don't want to sit down and think about the things that are hurting me now. Here's where it gets chilling. There are rumors floating around that Aaliyah didn't even want to get on that plane. In fact, some say she was unconscious when they put her on it. Why? Well, some conspiracy theories suggest that JayZ was involved in her. Allegedly, he pushed for her to get on that faulty plane knowing it was a risk. And why would he want that? The rumor is that Aaliyah was planning to speak out about the inappropriate advances Jay had made toward her, exposing the forced relationship she was in. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hip Williams to put AO on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him. Now, just months after Aaliyah's dame watched in shock as JayZ went on to perform and collaborate with R. Kelly again. This was after R. Kelly's actions had already been exposed to the public. Aaliyah's death hadn't even begun to sink in for Dame, but JayZ was already moving on as if nothing had ever happened. It's all JayZ, it's all JayZ, and he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all those records together